Well, true. I made 50% on my money in less than 2 years on that passive investment. It was so worth it. I claim
Yes,
that I made a good decision going in on that, But I mean, end of the
appreciate
day,
that.
I agree with that. And I think it's something that's kind of fundamentally that I disagree with fundamentally in multifamily investment is that we talk about how many doors do you have? How many doors do you have? I firmly believe that you have this like pyramid of things that matter to you when you're making any sort of a decision. What are your principles in this part of your life? And if your principles at the top of that pyramid are number of doors is the number one thing, you're going to buy a different asset than if you're like me and the thing at the top is cash flow.
Hey guys, welcome back to Ask Me How I Know. I am so excited. I have had multiple conversations like with my guest already. And so we have like this like underlying budding of this awesome friendship. And she's absolutely fascinating. And I'm going to leave it at that and just say you have to listen to this whole thing with Mandy McAllister because it rocks. Mandy, thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Julie. This has been long awaited for me. I cannot wait to hang out with you some more here. So thank you.
I've already learned so much from you from I mean, literally, I have a booster to my internet. You don't know that, but you were the reason. You're like, I think you and I were on a call
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and my internet net was crashing. And you're like, oh, I got this booster. It's super easy. Thank you.
It's $20 from Amazon will change your life. It's amazing. My pleasure. Yeah. I
Yeah,
love a good
yes.
hack.
So, so from little things like that to even diving into investments for real estate. I mean, you were telling me one day about how when you first got into real estate investing, you were like, oh, should I go to that market? It's really good. Everybody's going over there. And you were talking about that FOMO, and it literally
Mm.
has shaped a lot of what I've done. I know you didn't know you've left
Yay! I
fingerprints
didn't know
all
any of
over
these
me.
things. I'm
I
so
know.
excited.
It's so exciting. So I'm wondering if you would just share with the audience little bit about, that fear of
Mhm.
missing out, that FOMO.
Sure, totally. Well, when I had done some small multi stuff on my own, and when it came to trying to dive into larger assets, I really wanted to make sure that the population growth and the GDP growth and the job growth and the breadth of types of employers was really there, and that for me for a short flight from Chicago where I live meant either Kansas City or Indianapolis, and I dived headfirst into Kansas City, but then I would look over at Indianapolis and people doing that, and I would think, oh, but they're doing cool things, and maybe I can make 1% more on my money. But oh no, Kansas City, and oh no, Indianapolis, and you end up, I found that because I spread my, it doesn't sound like a lot having two markets, but having spread my focus between Kansas City and Indianapolis, I promise you that FOMO cost me at least 2 years of progress. So,
2 years.
yeah.
That's forever.
Well, I mean, it's a little bananas when you think like
I
I've really kind of only been at this like 4 or 5. So half of the time I had FOMO and I, wasn't able to really get a true granular knowledge of any one market. So I would be able to smell a deal. Really good real estate investors can smell the deal because they know this block so well and that block so well. That's how I found my small multis. Why did I think it would be anything different, you know, in these larger ones? So say no to FOMO.
say no to FOMO. Are there other parts of life? I do a lot of mindset with people, but I mean, this really
Oh.
applies. Do you have other ways that you've applied that learning from your experience in real estate to across the board or?
Oh, 100%. And we so connect on this mindset stuff. I actually started a mindset series with my friend Barry Griffiths. He does the wrestling with real estate. I've got to introduce you.
You
That's
do
not a
need
one.
to introduce
I'm
it. I'm
gonna,
like,
yeah,
that's an introduction. Don't even
yeah,
ask permission.
for
Just
sure.
do
I'm just gonna
it.
do it. But it's I got to serve on a mindset panel of a summit, and this is what I love to talk because I think Tony Robbins says that 80% of everything is psychology. The balance of 20% is mechanics, but I'll tell you, I think it's even more than the 80% for me at least. And
Yeah.
one thing that I've learned, and I think that this applies to a lot of people doing, multiple things, trying to do a side hustle. I'm a single mom trying to do, my side hustle of real estate investing. And I found some success in that. And I'm a medical device rep, which is a pretty demanding job. So the FOMO of like my attention is spread so thin. A thing that I've learned for life is the mom guilt that exists because, oh, I should be with my kid right now. And the day job stuff that, oh, I didn't tie up that loose end. If I give all that I've got to wherever I'm at, like Julie, right now it's just you and me and nothing else. And so I don't have guilt that my kiddo is playing with his nanny because I know that, we're gonna, jump on the trampoline later when you're getting your fish. So it's gonna be it's FOMO no more because I just focus where I'm at.
I love that. But you've really worked diligently and strategically at accomplishing that. And I know that just because, I mean, I watch what you're doing over on social media and everything, and like the stalker, it's not stalking when it's your friend.
No,
So,
yeah.
but to see what you've done with time management, and you've actually been teaching that to a lot of different people, especially moms out there, because my husband knows I definitely have that whole mom guilt that
Yes.
takes place. And then he talks me off the edge of the cliff on that. And he's
Mhm,
like, you're fine. They don't need you
mhm,
around constantly. Really, it's probably
mhm.
better for them. And but what are some of the strategies just for anyone listening? Because I think a lot of times it can be a mom thing. And
Mhm.
I think dads don't have their name for it yet, but I think a lot of dads feel it.
Oh, 100%. I do think that kind of just what gender roles are, the nurture
Yeah.
of the world. It's kind of hits mom maybe a little harder. Um, but I mean, it's parent guilt. And I got to tell you, for me, my last job that I had in medical device sales, I was on call, so my phone would ring and my kid would want to play and I would be playing. But I had to take this call from this doctor at Saturday at 2 p.m. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the really being firm around my time boundaries with my life. That's really one of the big reasons that I ended up changing jobs so that I could be more firm with my work life boundaries. It's just a decision, and then do you choose to stick to it? So, I mean,
Ooh, I'm just gonna let you know, I'm going through Brendon Burchard's book right now, High Performance
mhm,
Habits. I started a little club that's going to start soon because I like to do things with great people, right? No, it's not just me. Everyone else needs to do this with me, right?
I know.
That my productivity is an
Mm,
area where, and I know that's I'm going to just be focusing on that in 2021, but it has to do with that focus. I have clarity, but it's
mm,
that here's my boundary, and it's hard. That's a
yeah.
hard no or a hard
Yes.
yes, and you have mastered that.
It's all a work in progress. I'm much better now than I was 5 years ago, but it's also like a thing I heard Tim Ferriss say, and he ripped it off from somebody else. But if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no, right? Like if I'm not all in on whatever it is that I'm doing, like a chance to talk to Julie Holly for an hour, hell yes. But
I
other
felt the
stuff,
same way about talking with you.
but like you get really picky about how you choose to spend your time. And there's a number of hacks that I've used for productivity. A couple that have been interesting to me. I didn't realize that Calendly would change my life as much as it has. Right, the number one, it connects.
Revolutionary.
For sure. So like if someone wants some time for me, I get to lead this meetup. I get to have conversations with people like you. And then I get follow-up calls from people who may like something that I had to say. And I love, love, love those types of connections. But I've got to be really careful about not getting in a 2 hour phone call, when I only have 30 minutes. So
Yes.
if I can, say, hey, listen, let's plan 30 minutes. Here's a link. This goes straight to my calendar. Let's plan it. And then it goes straight to my calendar and we make it happen. That has been completely life changing. Another thing that I do is when I time block my weeks, I sit down either Sunday night or Monday morning, usually Monday morning, to figure out when I'm going to be doing some things. And batching, really, this idea of if I need to do internet research, if I plan 3 hours for that, because tonight when I put my kiddo to bed, I have to do kind of a survey of rents for a property that we're going for right now
Mhm.
in the Indianapolis market. I know that I'm going to have these 3 hours to do some internet stuff. so that I don't get sidetracked. I only have these 3 hours. I can't go play on Facebook. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. There's no
And the
scrolling when you're focused at that level.
Well, right. Like I only have
Mhm.
this time. And the idea of batching things like phone calls. So I drive a lot for my day job. So when I'm, driving and I have the phone next to me, I'll yell, "Hey Siri, call Julie Holly on my to-do list," And then when I'm on call time, I can, go knock everything out all at the same time. So the batching stuff really helps me not have these switch over changing times, because science really suggests that it's the switching what your brain is doing that makes multitasking not work.
I love it. This is something that you have definitely, I mean, you've been a forerunner in all of the women's networks where I see you, and I see you in all the other networks. But this is a conversation that takes place a lot of times in the world of moms where they're juggling like I do everything and more, even
Yeah.
more. So it's
Yeah.
a necessary, it's something that we all have to grow in. And
Yeah.
like you said, everybody benefits from it, but this can bring a lot of sanity to a lot of people's
Oh,
lives. And you are, if you're listening right now and this is something that you're like, whoa, I'm really struggling with this, I'm just going to encourage you, go stalk Mandy and see what she's doing. Reach out to her, send her a message and say, "Hey, Mandy, will you just say, Siri, put me on, just
oh, so good.
like get onto
I
her
did a
call
couple
list."
videos on it. Some of these things, like I find, like when I have conversations and I see light bulbs kind of going off for a few people, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is something that maybe I'd have a chance to like put more light bulbs in people. So I've been doing a few like little hack videos, and I did one on time blocking. So on my little website, mandymcallister.com, if you want to hear more about that.
So you definitely want to go over there. You definitely want to check out her website for that. But for everything else, there's so many other things. Now, we talked about FOMO, and I love the time blocking. I was going to talk to you about the time blocking and everything because I've I don't know if you and I spoke about it or if I watched your video because I mean you're doing so many powerful good things. I wasn't going to do this interview in this order, but I wanted to go into what you're building.
Oh,
So you are a huge giver, and you're always, just reaching out to others and pouring in and trying to make others successful. Like you are that, like, hey, let's, raise the tide and come up with me. And I love that about who you are and how you live your life. And so when I see that, what are some of the, like, you have aspiring women? I love it. It's an amazing network to be a part of. If you're out there in the world, like, come join it. It's over on the book face. Um, but if you wouldn't mind, explain like what was impetus to create that?
yeah, totally. So, actually, I was on a high performance call with, some real estate investor counterparts. And listen, most of commercial real estate investing is men. So when there's a woman there, you're like, oh my gosh, we're going to be friends. So there was another woman on the
I
call,
already
and we
have a
were,
BFF charm for you,
oh,
right?
I
Like
want one
right?
of the hearts. Yeah.
Yes.
I want so we were on this call, and the call happened to be about your energy, like how you're showing up. Like, are you showing up like it's masculine and feminine energy? And this used to kind of piss me off. Like, no, I am a doer, I am an achiever. Do not tell me that I need to sit down and cross my legs and be a lady. Like I mean, but there's a big difference between that and showing up with feminine energy, right?
Right.
And I firmly believe that you attract your opposite. Like there's a ton of like psychological research behind this stuff. And what ended up happening from this call was this other woman, Trina Paceno, and I, like, if you don't know her, you need to know
I'm
her.
getting her name. How do I not know her?
Oh, you've got to. She's wonderful. She owned a property management firm in Oakland. So she and I kind of just started reading these books together, and we would, sit and chat like girlfriends. And it turned into, oh my gosh, this should be a book club. We should have other friends join. And then it was kind of a five core of us. And we're like, this positivity and like women talking at higher levels about achievement, because there's other women that go after their dreams like we do. It's not all, I mean, listen, I the, if you're not running at 1,000 miles an hour like I happen to be, then your choice is perfect for you. It just so happens that my choice is to be running at 1,000 miles an hour. And it's really fun to know that I'm not super weird. I'm a little weird, but you know what I mean? Like to meet people my
I know
same weird.
exactly what you mean. Let's
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
yeah.
So what kind of the impetus of the Aspiring Women Achieving More group is we knew that like other women would want this positivity, would want these sounding boards to, find support and accountability and help and, really just girl gang, So it's been 10 months now, started this Facebook group called Aspiring Women Achieving More, where we post a lot of these, positive things, and we're at 1,700 members now. So there is a need. Women do want to band arms and lift each other up. So it's like such a cool thing to see.
It's amazing. Now, I grew up in a male dominated world. Like my whole life has just been in a male
Boys club, yes.
it's always been boys club. I'm the bottom and I have 3 older brothers. Enough said, okay? So like,
Yeah, right.
imagine. And so being in these realms has been very comfortable for me because it's just that's always been my norm.
Hmm.
However, for a lot of women that isn't the norm. And I see 2 different things that take place. It's like, okay, one, the can I trust these men that I'm around? Are they
Yep.
gentlemen? Are they jerks? Are they who, like there's that level of that kind of shield that's up. But there's also something that happens, and I hesitate to bring this up, but it could be very interesting. And I look at high achieving women sometimes are intimidating to be around,
Mm.
and sometimes if you are still haven't realized that you are yourself a high achieving person and you haven't identified that within yourself, and I think that there are so many women that are high achievers and they just don't realize it because
Mm.
their idea of what a high achiever would be up here, but they're actually like, oh, they are a high achiever and that's like
Right.
ultra high achiever. And so I'm wondering how many women, like in your opinion, like how many women are missing the mark just because they're not identifying within themselves and having that
Mm.
confidence.
Gosh, that's a pretty interesting vantage point for sure. Because it seems, I don't know, it seems like a little. I don't know that I would ever in a million years say that I'm an intimidating human,
Right?
because that seems so like narcissistic. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and
But
you're
if
so
I
friendly and nice and like you I could imagine someone like you like, why would anyone
But
be
like as a
intimidated?
high achieving, like as a
Yeah,
high achieving woman, like if you run into your corner and you operate on a silo, then you're giving off this vibe of I am not to be spoken to. Do you know what I mean? And if
right.
if you look at one generation before us, there was, the trailblazers were really the first woman to get a C-suite office. Do you know? And that was just one generation ago.
It's
And if
crazy.
you look at that though, the women who represented us then, because there was only one seat at the table, if you didn't get that seat at the table, you looked at the woman with the seat at the table and you think, oh, she's competition, she's the one who won out, I have to
Right.
dislike her, right? But
Mhm.
now there's so many more seats at the table. This is our chance as female leaders to make it very clear that this is a sisterhood. We are here to lift each other up. We are here to workshop stuff that doesn't make sense, to find resources together. This is a paradigm shift that's really happening, that if we only look at the example that was provided for us, and provided for good reason, right, that there was only one seat at the table, then
Yeah.
we would potentially have that, oh, that woman, that one CEO is intimidating. Well, that's not the case now. Now we are a whole like sorority of girls getting shit done. So let's continue that paradigm shift.
And that's what's happening. This is so fascinating because you're right. I mean, like you just look at one generation ago, how far things have come, and even within the multifamily investment niche, now we have pockets of there are other women network type things that you can be part of. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like these other little cells, that are popping up or that have been around for the last year or two. And it really is in the last, what, year and a half. I mean, like it's really not like that. It's a very fresh concept still. It's still
Yeah.
very gel, but
It's the Me Too stuff happened all at the same
right.
time. Like it's the world, the future is female stuff is, that's where we're at in the world. And it just so happens that you and I play in this boys club sandbox of commercial real estate. How cool to get to be kind of this beacon of like, look, it's no big deal. I'm not special. I'm just I'm trying, you know?
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And I think it's great. I love this because despite, and I'll go back to what I said earlier, just because I grew up in this weird male dominated world, like by nature of my family structure, that's not how a lot of people grew up. And there's that nervousness, or I mean, there's just this barrier oftentimes. And so just to have these pockets where women can go and they can be comfortable and sharing space and growing as women, it opens the door for
Mm.
us, the masses. It's so exciting.
I really think actually, so we do this accountability call that's right now, it's a free thing that we do every Friday at over everybody's lunch hour. So it's 1 p.m. Central on Fridays. You can get the Zoom link for free on Aspiring Women. Um, we just had a new girl join, and she basically was like, she's like, I want to get into multifamily, and I don't know where to look. Well, she at the end was like, it is so cool to see, I now see these examples of exactly where I want to be. And you guys look like me and you talk like me. And we've done similar things in our lives up to whatever point. So, whatever your politics are, I mean, this whole woman in the White House thing, as a woman who roots for other women, regardless of my politics and what I wish would have happened, like it's such a cool thing to see because if you can see it, you can be it.
That's such a good reminder. If you can see it, you can be it. That's right. And you have to have your role models all around you. Oh, you're one of my role models. Thank
Oh, sweet
you.
girl. Oh, baby, yeah, yeah, thank you.
Like I'm gonna be like you when I grow up. I'm seriously, I have a list of my girls, and I'm like, okay, I want to be just like them.
Oh, well, that matters so much to me. You're such a great human. I want to be like you.
Oh man, this is just the happiness. It just
See,
feeds into
total
itself.
facts. Yeah.
Well, this has been such a joyful time, but not everything is sunshine and roses, and there are some hard knocks that happen. And I asked the audience, sweet listeners, I asked Mandy if we could go down this path before we even started, because this is a path of learn from someone else and what they've been through. And this is really, regardless of your gender, since we've been talking about so many women things, regardless
Yeah.
of your gender, this can happen to you too. And I would love to hear our audience to hear your insights in this story.
Yeah, sure. So it's basically around I believe very much in partnership. I believe very much in I have become elevated because of the people I've surrounded myself with. The impact, like for example, what we just talked about, the impact we're having with aspiring women that I get to be a part of, it happened because of this core group of badasses, right? So I feel very strongly about taking on partners to elevate situations. So I last summer had long story short, a chance to be in a partnership with someone who was a friend first, and thought very much that that person totally understood exactly what it was we were doing, and I had the presence of mind to say, no, let's do something smaller before we go do this huge thing, and ended up that person with whom I'd gone to church and our kids played, like I still have not been in receipt of repayment of a very, very large chunk of money. So it was something that there was lots of misrepresentation. There was lots of, yeah. The thing is, I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think that he's in over his skis, and it had happened before. And had I done my full due diligence, I thought I had asked all of these really hard partnership conversations or questions that you need to clear up on the front end, because you have the hard conversations before you enter into any sort of like, marriage or a partnership or whatever that you're going to be tied together for a very long time. I had those conversations. What I didn't do was a full on background check and a full on, questioning people who had been, partners before with this person. And I'm here to tell you that, you know, I'm not jaded as a partner and things. Like I've gone on to subsequent partnerships with other people in business deals, but you know what? I did background checks on them. you know? So I still ask the hard questions and I trust, but now I verify. So my advice to your sweet listeners is to make sure that you're trusting and lead with your good heart, but make sure that you're doing your due diligence on the human, regardless of how much you think or feel you can trust them.
What are some of those questions that you ask? Because everyone has their their idea of what the tough questions are. So
Mm,
for the listeners, what are some of your top three tough questions
mm.
that
Well,
you always ask?
yeah. I mean, the hard stuff, the disagreements happen when stuff goes wrong. You know,
Right.
it's no if everything is hunky dory and you're making 20% cash on cash, ain't nobody gonna be fighting. Do you
Right.
know? So in terms of the hard questions that I did ask, they were based around, all right, what happens, if our how will we be insured? How will I get return of my money? The if I'm the primary capital here, at what point can I expect that? Really just making sure that, trying to think through every potential downfall and then asking questions of how that partner would deal with things. What
Mhm.
happens if uh, we we run through our rainy day fund? What do we do then? Okay, well, we'll just do a capital call that's commensurate with our ownership. That makes sense to me. Let's continue to move forward. Things like that. So it's not that
Mhm.
you have to solve all of the world's problems. You just got to get comfortable with the way their brain works in that worst case scenario.
I love it. And I think it's important, even just to get comfortable with having some tougher conversations. Usually it's, right now, I mean, you and I haven't had a deal together. We have all these like really nice conversations
Yeah,
and we talk about interesting things, but if we were running a deal together, we'd have to get comfortable,
for
maybe
sure.
not smiling.
Well,
you know?
right. I mean, it's like any like deep relationship that you're a part of. The juice, the goodness ends up happening on the other side of the
Yeah.
ick, you know?
Yes. Yeah, it's so very true. I love that. I'm sorry that you had to go through it, but it seems that it has actually served you well in what you've done and also in how you've contributed to others, in their journeys so that they can avoid it.
Well, thanks. I mean, I'm still working to recapture that capital, but I mean, it was a very expensive lesson, but I'm a better, more shrewd investor, more willing to stick up for myself because of it,
Right.
you know?
Right. Do you think that that's a you thing, sticking up for yourself, or is that a woman thing, or is that just a person thing? What would you say?
I mean, big I'm so heavily leaning towards girl power recently that I've read all of these books, and there really is psychology of, this incredible book that you should pick up if you haven't. It's called Women Don't Ask. And it's all of this social science data behind, if you don't, the wage gap does exist, it's undeniable, right? But a lot of it has to do with, they looked at MBA students, male versus female, and did they negotiate their first salary, right? And
Right.
women were way less likely to negotiate. They were like way less, aggressive in terms of whatever number they started out at than men. B, so if you end up with a first salary that's significantly lower, all subsequent raises end up happening from that. Well, no kidding, we're significantly behind because our willingness to ask for what we want and feel like we deserve it is underdeveloped, so I feel like the stick up for yourself, oh no, I'm just some silly little girl from a farm, no, I am a seasoned real estate investor who knows what the crap she is doing. You're not going to do this to me and my attorney's going to get involved.
Okay, and you are. She did. So, audience, she did grow up on a farm. She is a farm girl at heart, right? And so, what did it take for you to go from being farm girl into strong woman?
uh, I uh, I don't want to say you fake it till you make it, but I'll tell you that the more times that I fulfill these ideas, whatever you put I am in front of, is the most powerful neurological trigger ever. So if you say, I am stupid, well, you're going to start to believe that. You're going to make this agreement
Yep.
with yourself that that's true. If you say, I am a real estate investor, oh my gosh, Julie, 5 years ago, the first time I said, I am a real estate investor, I was lying. But it's something that I had put so much work and effort into, and I had like one door at the time. But you know what? I was a real estate investor because I
Yeah.
own real estate as an investment. And the more comfortable the more that you can become comfortable with those I ams, the more like you grow into that identity. And I think that for me, and I think a lot of people in general, but especially women, we have to prove it to ourselves time and time again before we really own that identity. So my charge would be is if you don't feel like you are whatever thing you want to be, put I am in front of it and figure out what it's going to take to make you actually feel that and start doing activities that put you there.
I love that follow up with, because a lot of people just get into the I am statements, but you said that powerful part that just feeds into that, and that is do the activities.
Exactly.
Do the activities. Claim it, name it, claim it, and start doing what it does to
Yes.
become that.
And because this is a kind of real estate focused podcast, I'll tell you, like, when I started saying I'm a multifamily investor, also felt disingenuous, right? But then I did my first passive investment and I realized, oh crap. I mean, with this passive investment and what I already own, I have 150 units right now, 152 units. If you actually step back and do the math, like without question, without lying, without saying anything that's untrue, I have ownership in 152 units. And the more like, oh my gosh, that's for real. So if you have people who are interested in building passive investments, I mean, it's a true investment in real estate to help you build your wealth. And it's true.
That's so funny that you say that, because I always feel that way with, like the passive investments that I have. It's like, you know, because I've seen when you're in the niche, different people like pick it apart. Like, well, what kind of ownership
Yeah.
do you have? And nobody does it too. But I saw this one post by a very prominent person, and it broke down the types of ownership and kind of just said, all you people saying you have this many doors.
Yeah.
And I laugh about things like that, because like it's an investment.
Well,
You have,
true. I made 50% on my money in less than 2 years on that passive investment. It was so worth it. I claim
yes.
that I made a good decision going in on that. But I mean, end of
Preach
the
it.
day, I agree with that. And I think it's something that's kind of fundamentally that I disagree with fundamentally in multifamily investment is that we talk about how many doors do you have? How many doors do you have? I firmly believe that you have this like pyramid of things that matter to you when you're making any sort of a decision. What are your principles in this part of your life? And if your principles at the top of that pyramid are number of doors is the number one thing, you're going to buy a different asset than if you're like me and the thing at the top is cash flow.
I was, you and I are so alike on that. Like, you know what? I'll just take the cash flow, please. I don't care if I have like 5 million doors. If they
Yes.
don't make me any money or don't make much,
Yeah.
not have much of a return, what's the purpose? They're not serving me.
Well, and where I'm at right now, and this might, like dovetail into something else we want to talk about. But for me, what I need is to have enough passive income coming in my door so I can feel comfortable moving away from my day job, right? And end of the day, my fourplex throws off $1,100 a month. Why would I ever sell that?
Right.
Not right now, not when I need cash flow to be able to move on to whatever my next chapter is. You know, I really think that, syndications, joint ventures, all of this bigger stuff is awesome and totally has a place. But for me, I want to have this bucket of really dependable cash flow coming in so that I'm not putting myself in a position that I have to go earn an acquisition fee in order to feed my family. You do a different deal if you have to do a deal.
I love that. I think it's going to be really interesting moving forward as the economy, does its little shift and everything. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, because just what you said, who are people just doing this just to get an acquisition fee? Are they just putting a deal together just to put a deal together? Or are they actually being thoughtful and meticulous about it?
And I really think that I'm saying some stuff that's going to get me some emails, I think. But the idea of value add, it makes so much sense because if you increase NOI and you have compressing cap rates like we have for the past however many years, then your asset value is going to go up tremendously. And when you sell, you're going to have a tremendous return, like I did on my passive investments. If let's say you're buying it at a 4 cap right now, right? This is a 4 cap, and you're, in 5 years' time, you're going to exit at a 5. That is completely possible, right? So if I'm going from a 4 cap to a 5 cap, that is a 25% change. A 4 to a 5. 1 is 25% of 4, right? I'm going to have to increase my NOI by 25% just to keep up with the value. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not something I hear a lot of talk about, which is why I'm looking at stabilized assets for the cash flow only and writing it out for an entire cycle.
Preach it. I don't think that you're going to get I don't think anybody can give you any heat over that, because it makes sense. And again, though, it's going to go back to what is your play? What is it that you value the most? What is it that why are you even investing in this? That's going to be a huge thing. So passive investors right now, they're kind of like, hey, I want to invest passively, but wow, it seems really squirrely. And listen to you ladies talking about this in your powerhouses, and how am I even going to know what is the best investment to be in at this time? What would you say to those people?
I'm still actively investing, but I want to see let's pretend, Julie, you have a syndication that because we have this substantive relationship, you're talking to me about a potential investment in your syndication. I, as the passive investor, want to understand, okay, help me understand your exit cap. How did you come up with that? Because if you change the cap rate that you exit at, just like we talked about, the 4 to the 5, if you're going for a 4 to a 3, I want to understand why. Like, why do you think that that's going to happen? And I need to be super comfortable with that,
Hold on. Did you see that? I was hoping that.
Uh-oh, Jules. Oh, there. Hi.
Okay, there we are.
Is it my internet?
No, it's mine. And I'm like, okay, my internet's been good.
Oh, no. Doing it again. There. Hi.
Okay, no, we're gonna finish up, but I'm gonna do something I've never done before.
Ooh,
I know. Watch this episode.
Oh,
watch this episode. You get to go outside Julie Holly's studio. Julie's gonna freeze her butt off.
She said that's so good.
Yeah, there it is. It's back there.
That's so good.
I'm just gonna do it like this because I'll be closer.
Ooh, that's wonderful. I'll talk fast.
It's okay. We're almost done anyway. Can I get some decent lighting at least, and not have a protein tank in the background? See that one?
That's so good.
Oh my gosh,
this is farm life.
So no, I will tell you this true story. That's a guinea fowl. You should know that, farm girl.
I don't. We do not have those in Illinois.
Well, we got two. One got taken out by something else, and it'll settle down here in a second. There we go. Okay, sorry. So, okay.
We were at like the questions I would ask you.
Right, exactly. And hold on, wait. If I go to the front, hopefully
that's so good. You sweet girl.
Hopefully these chickens aren't going to follow me around.
I'm print screening this. This is too good.
So fantastic. This is like best episode ever. Okay.
Ever. Just leave this part in. Yeah.
You know what? I might leave it in just because it's fun.
I love it.
Oh, this is called being flexible with life. But we don't want to be flexible with other people's money. And other people should have, look at that, getting right back to it. And other people need to have the right questions. And I agree. Like, I'm actively investing, actively just being fully active. And you're talking about before we got distracted by my rural North Idaho internet, you were explaining, some of the things that people should be looking for.
So the first thing I want to understand in any underwriting is, why did you choose your exit cap rate? Because if you've underwritten enough deals, you know, if you change that exit cap, you completely change what the returns look like. And if there's not a good reason for a huge jump, or not a huge enough jump in the wrong direction, cap rate, then I got to be comfortable with that, right? I also really want to understand potential exits, right? Because especially if we're moving into a place where cap rates might expand, then, you know, do we have contingency plans? Uh, the way I run my underwriting, I keep talking about it like it's Goldilocks. I have best case scenario, which is what we're
Yes,
going to
though.
manage to. Everything goes well. Then I've got the really super conservative, how I think the world is going to go. And then I've got worst case scenario. So if I can get comfortable with that worst case scenario, I want to know what my economic vacancy break even point is. So as a passive investor, that's the thing I want to understand too, and how we're going to mitigate that. As
How are you going to mitigate? Because I don't want you giving me a phone call saying, "Hey, I need more money."
yeah, no capital calls, but
Yeah, that ain't nobody got time
I'm
for that.
still investing, and I still, you know, I have some self-directed IRA funds that I will be passive investing too when they come back here. So
I'm working with a business partner on a project right now, and we're creating an article. And so what he was doing was creating a spreadsheet, because we're talking about how he's mitigated loss through the different dips over the last few cycles.
smart, yeah.
And uh, anyhow, through some conversation, that dialogue. Do you see? I'm like starting to
Are you
shiver.
starting to? Sweet girl.
If you're not watching this on YouTube, I had to move outside, and it's all of let's just do a temperature check right now.
But it's beautiful.
30. No, it said 36. Now it says 43. All that to say, he was talking. That chart clearly demonstrates that he's made the significant gains by being off of Wall Street during these dips.
I
So
tell you what, yeah.
yeah,
No,
using
I
that.
used to be a professional trader. You know, like that was my job. I do not do that for a reason now. I am in hard assets like multifamily for a reason.
Right. And using those self-directed funds, it's a powerful vehicle, because most of those are tied up to Wall Street right now. And so if you can pull them off, my strategy right now is like, how many people can pull their money off Wall Street right now?
Yeah,
And kind of in my mind, I'm like, it's like freezing it. Like, you're
yeah,
taking
for
it at the
sure.
top. You're not going to have to take that dip down, and you're
Well,
going to go up.
and if there's a change in capital gains structure, that's going to change stuff too, you know. So it's not just what's in your retirement fund, it's what do you have invested in the market right now that you might have gains on, that, you know, you would realize a smaller tax burden right now.
Big time. Mandy, you are amazing. I could talk on all day, because I love talking with you. I love what you're about. I love what you do. So it's probably a blessing in disguise that this internet thing
You're
happened and
freezing.
I'm shivering.
I love sweet girl. Well, we'll do it again. We'll do number
you and
two.
you and
Yeah.
I will do it. If people want to get in touch with you and hop onto your Calendly,
Yeah.
what would you say? Do they go to
Best
mandymcallister.com, or
MandyMcAllister.com. It's kind of my catch-all for everything. That's
I love it.
McAllister.
Okay, and she is super nice. And so if I always say, if you are resonating with Mandy, one, go check out Aspiring Women Achieving More over on Facebook. It's a group, and it's very inclusive. So just go hop over there and meet a bunch of really powerful, awesome women. And make sure you check out what investments she has coming up, because just by listening to her, that she knows her stuff. And if she resonates with you, you might want to do a background check on her and invest
Yes.
with her.
I am a good kid. Do that background check. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Oh, I love it, Mandy. Thank you
Me
so much
too.
for joining us.
You're wonderful. Thank you, Julie. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh my gosh, that is like, I love every episode, but I've never like ended up outside.
Oh my gosh, you have to do like a blooper reel of this.
We'll
Yeah.
just be like, yeah, done. Here we go. I should take a screenshot. Here, I'm going to change this.
I did. I did.
Did you do it? I didn't do it. I'm like, ooh, ooh. There we go.
I was gonna have sorry.
There we go.
Here. Come here.
Okay.
This is another Miss Julie.
Oh my God, I love it.
Are you ready? If there was a problem,
You will solve it.
Check out the mic and all.
check out the hook while the DJ revolves it.
I think my son, who's over there, with the guinea fowl, I think he could finish it better than me at this point.
Yeah, I know. All right, say goodbye to her.
Go jump on the trampoline.
Julie.
Goodbye.
Bye, Miss Julie. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy.
Bye.